Ja. Okej, slår du, tar en liten paus på det. Alright, welcome back to Turtle WoW Hardcore. We're gonna continue today. And we're gonna do what we have done lately. We're just gonna relax and listen to some Everlook Broadcasting code. Have fun.
something? See you around.
War of the Spider, unearthing horrors. While Thrall was liberating his brethren in Lordaeron, Ner'zhul continued to build up his power base in Northrend. A great citadel was erected above the Icecrown Glacier and manned by the growing legions of the dead. Yet, as the Lich King extended his influence over the land, one shadowy empire stood against his power. The ancient subterranean kingdom of Azhol Nerub, which had been founded by a race of sinister humanoid spiders, sent their elite warrior guard to attack Icecrown and end the Lich King's mad bid for dominance. Much to his frustration, Ner'zhul found that the evil Nerubians were immune not only to the plague, but to his telepathic domination as well. The Nerubian Spider Lords commanded vast forces and had an underground network that stretched nearly half the breadth of Northrend. Their hit-and-run tactics on the Lich King's strongholds stymied his efforts to root them out time after time. Ultimately, Ner'zhul's war against the Nerubians was won by attrition. With the aid of the sinister Dreadlords and innumerable undead warriors, the Lich King invaded Azhol Nerub and brought its subterranean temples crashing down upon the Spider Lords' heads. Though the Nerubians were immune to his plague, Ner'zhul's growing necromantic powers allowed him to raise the Spider Warriors' corpses and bend them to his will. As a testament to their tenacity and fearlessness, Ner'zhul adopted the Nerubians' distinctive architectural style for his own fortresses and structures. Left to rule his kingdom unopposed, the Lich King began preparing for his true mission in the world. Reaching out into the human lands with his vast consciousness, the Lich King called out to any dark soul that would listen.
Gil-'Jadan and the Shadow Pact, Precipice of Evil. Around the time of Medivh's birth on Azeroth, Gil-'Jadan the Deceiver sat and brooded amongst his followers within the Twisting Nether. The cunning Demon Lord, under orders of his master, Sargeras, was plotting the Burning Legion's second invasion of Azeroth. This time, he would not allow any mistakes. Kil'jaedan surmised that he needed a new force to weaken Azeroth's defenses before the Legion even set foot upon the world. If the mortal races, such as the Night Elves and Dragons, were forced to contend with a new threat, they would be too weak to pose any real resistance when the Legion's true invasion arrived. It was at this time that Kil'jaedan discovered the lush world of Draenor, floating peacefully within the great dark beyond. Home to the shamanistic, clan-based orcs in the peaceful Draenor, Draenor was as idyllic as it was vast. The noble orc clans roamed the open prairies and hunted for sport, while the inquisitive Draenei built crude cities within the world's towering cliffs and peaks. Kil'jaedan knew that Draenor's denizens had great potential to serve the Burning Legion if they could be cultivated properly. Of the two races, Kil'jaedan saw that the warrior orcs were more susceptible to the Legion's corruption. He enthralled the elder orc shaman, Ner'zhul, in much the same way that Sargeras brought Queen Ashara under his control in ages past. Using the cunning shaman as his conduit, the demon spread battle lust and savagery throughout the orc clans. Before long, the spiritual race was transformed into a bloodthirsty people. Kil'jaedan then urged Ner'zhul and his people to take the last step, to give themselves over entirely to the pursuit of death and war. Yet the old shaman, sensing that his people would be enslaved to hatred forever, somehow resisted the demon's command. Frustrated by Ner'zhul's resistance, Kil'jaedan searched for another orc who would deliver his people into the Legion's hands. The clever demon lord finally found the willing disciple he sought, Ner'zhul's ambitious apprentice, Gul'dan.
Alright, I think I finally have understood what these new places are. If I'm not mistaken, this is Guild House. That's cool. It's located here in Duskwood, close to the cemetery. Looks cool. Alright, back to radio.
A secretive sect that manipulated the clans and spread the use of warlock magics throughout Draenor. As more and more orcs began to wield warlock magics, the gentle fields and streams of Draenor began to blacken and fade. Over time, the vast prairies the orcs had called home for generations withered away, leaving only red, barren soil. The demon energies were slowly killing the world.
Aftermath of the Second War, remaining ashes. The devastating Second War against the Orcish Horde left the alliance of Lordaeron in a state of shock and disarray. The bloodthirsty orcs, led by the mighty war chief, Orgrim Doomhammer, not only smashed their way through the dwarf-held lands of Khazmodan, but had razed many of Lordaeron's central provinces as well. The unrelenting orcs even succeeded in ravaging the elves' remote kingdom of Quel'The Lost before their rampage was finally stopped. The Alliance armies led by Sir Anduin Lothar, Uther the Lightbringer, and Admiral Dalen Proudmoore pushed the orcs south into the shattered land of Azeroth, the first kingdom to fall before the orcs' ruthless onslaught. The Alliance forces under Sir Lothar managed to push Doomhammer's clans out of Lordaeron and back into the orc-controlled lands of Azeroth. Lothar's forces surrounded the orcs' volcanic citadel of Blackrock Spire and laid siege to their defences. In a last-ditch effort, Doomhammer and his lieutenants staged a daring charge from the spire and clashed with Lothar's paladins in the centre of the burning steppes. Doomhammer and Lothar squared off in a titanic battle that left both mighty combatants battered and drained. Though Doomhammer nearly succeeded in vanquishing Lothar, the great hero's death did not have the effect the war chief had hoped for. Turalon, Lothar's most trusted lieutenant, took up Lothar's blood-stained shield and rallied his grief-stricken brethren for a vicious counterattack. Under the ragged standards of both Lordaeron and Azeroth, Turalon's troops slaughtered the bulk of Doomhammer's remaining forces in a glorious but terrible rout. There was nothing left for the ravaged, scattered orc survivors but to flee to the last standing bastion of orcish power, the Dark Portal. Turlon and his warriors chased the remaining orcs through the festering swamp of sorrows and into the corrupted, blasted lands where the dark portal stood. There, at the foot of the colossal portal, the broken horde and the ragged alliance clashed in what would be the last, bloodiest battle of the Second War. Outnumbered and driven mad by the curse of their bloodlust, the orcs inevitably fell before the wrath of the alliance. Doomhammer was taken prisoner and escorted to Lordaeron, while his broken clans were rounded up and hauled north, back to Lordaeron.
Zappo here made a little joke about a troll playing with dolls, just some light-hearted fun. But wouldn't you know it, I had this mysterious needle-like sting for 4 weeks, straight after. Note to self, never mock a troll's hobby, especially if it involves tiny dolls that look suspiciously like goblins.
The Guardians of Tirisfal, Legacy of Sorcery, read to you by Rograg Fishslayer. With the absence of trolls in the Northlands, the elves of Quel'Thalas bent their efforts towards rebuilding their glorious homeland. The victorious armies of Arathor returned home to Southlands of Strom. The human society of Arathor grew and prospered, yet Thoradin, fearful that his kingdom would splinter apart if it overextended itself, maintained that Strom was the center of the Arathorian Empire. After many peaceful years of growth and commerce, mighty Thoradin departed on one final quest, never to return, leaving Arathor's younger generation free to expand the empire beyond the lands of Strom. The original 100 Magi, who were tutored in the ways of magic by the elves, expanded their powers and studied the mystic disciplines of spellweaving in much greater detail. These Magi, initially chosen for their strong wills and noble spirits, had always practiced their magic with care and responsibility. However, they passed their secrets and powers onto a newer generation that had no concept of the rigors of war or the necessity for self-restraint. These younger magicians began to practice magic for personal gain rather than out of any responsibility towards their fellows. As the empire grew and expanded into new lands, the young magicians also spread out into the Southlands. Wielding their mystical powers, the magicians protected their brethren from the wild creatures of the land and made it possible for new city-states to be constructed in the wilderness. Yet, as their powers grew, the magicians became ever more conceited and isolated from the rest of society. The second Arathorian city-state of Dalaran was founded in the lands north of Strom. Many fledgling wizards left the restraining confines of Strom behind and traveled to Dalaran, where they hoped to use their new powers with greater freedom. These magicians used their skills to build up enchanted spires of Dalaran and reveled in the pursuit of their studies. The citizens of Dalaran tolerated the magicians' endeavors and built up a bustling economy under the protection of their magic-using defenders. Yet, as more and more magicians practiced their arts, the fabric of reality around Dalaran began to weaken and tear. The sinister agents of the Burning Legion, who had been banished when the Well of Eternity collapsed, were lured back into the world by the heedless spellcasting of the magicians of Dalaran. Though these relatively weak demons did not appear in force, they did sow considerable confusion and chaos within the streets of Dalaran. Most of these demonic encounters were isolated events, and the ruling magicrats did what they could to keep such events hidden from the public. The most powerful magicians were sent to capture the elusive demons, but they often found themselves hopelessly outmatched by the lone agents of the mighty Legion. After a few months, the superstitious peasantry began to suspect that their sorceress rulers were hiding something terrible from them. Rumors of revolution began to sweep through the streets of Dalaran as the paranoid citizenry questioned the motives and practice of the magicians they had once admired. The magicrats, fearing that the peasants would revolt and that Strom would take actions against them, turned to the only group they felt would understand their particular problem, the elves. Upon hearing the magicrats' news of demonic activity in Dalaran, the elves quickly dispatched their mightiest wizards to the human lands. The elven wizards studied the energy currents in Dalaran and made detailed reports of all demonic activity that they beheld. They concluded that although there were few demons loose in the world, the Legion itself would remain a dire threat so long as humans continued to wield the forces of magic. The Council of Silvermoon, which ruled over the elves of Quel'Thalas, entered into a secret pact with the magicrat lords of Dalaran. The elves told the magicrats about the history of ancient Kalimdor and of the Burning Legion, a history which still threatened the world. They informed the humans that so long as they used magic, they would need to protect their citizenry from the malicious agents of the Legion. The magicrats proposed the notion of empowering a single mortal champion who would utilize their powers in order to fight a never-ending secret war against the Legion. It was stressed that the majority of mankind would never know about the Guardians or the threat of the Legion for fear that they would riot in fear and paranoia. The elves agreed to the proposal and founded a secret society that would watch over the selection of the Guardian and help to stem the rise of chaos in the world. The society held its secret meetings in the shadowed Tirisfal glades, where the High Elves had first settled in Lordaeron. Thus, they named the secret sect the Guardians of Tirisfal. The mortal champions who were chosen to be guardians were imbued with incredible powers of both elven and human magic. Though there would only ever be one guardian at a time, they held such vast power that they could single-handedly fight back the Legion's agents wherever they were found in the world. The Guardian power was so great that only the Council of Tirisfal was allowed to choose potential successors to the mantle of guardianship. Whenever a Guardian grew too old, or wearied of the secret war against chaos, the Council chose a new champion and, under controlled conditions, formally channeled the Guardian power into its new agent. As the generations passed, Guardians defended the masses of humanity from the invisible threat of the Burning Legion throughout the lands of Arathor and Quel'Thalas. Arathor grew and prospered while the use of magic spread throughout the Empire. Meanwhile, the Guardians kept careful watch for signs of demonic activity.
Ghouls, witches, and haunted mansions. Hallow's End has arrived, and with it comes a product lineup the likes of which Azeroth has never seen before. Let's roll those spooky adverts.
Don your costumes and join the Grand Hallows End parade through Stormwind. March down the cobblestone streets alongside knights, jesters, and princesses. Show off your creativity and win fantastic prizes. It's a Hallows End celebration you won't.
Dare to explore Undercity's spookiest secrets? Join our haunted catacomb tours. Led by our own spectral guides, you'll uncover the eerie history of Lordaeron, from plague to power. Reserve your crypt now and witness the chilling path. Show off your dwarven craftsmanship at our dwarf-sized pumpkin carving contest. Grab a pumpkin, pick your finest tools, and sculpt something legendary. The winner gets a barrel of ale. Join us in the celebration, and let's carve it up, dwarven style, during Hallows End.
The invasion of Draenor, on the offensive. As the fires of the Second War died down, the Alliance took aggressive steps to contain the Orcish threat. A number of large internment camps meant to house the captive orcs were constructed in southern Lordaeron. Guarded by both the Paladins and the veteran soldiers of the Alliance, the camps proved to be a great success. Though the captive orcs were tense and anxious to do battle once more, the various camp wardens based at the old prison fortress of Durnhold kept the peace and maintained a strong semblance of order. However, on the hellish world of Draenor, a new Orcish army prepared to strike at the unsuspecting Alliance. Ner'zhul, the former mentor of Gul'dan, rallied the remaining Orc clans under his dark banner. Aided by the Shadowmoon clan, the old shaman planned to open a number of portals on Draenor that would lead the Horde to new, unspoiled worlds. To power his new portals, he needed a number of enchanted artifacts from Azeroth. To procure them, Ner'zhul reopened the Dark Portal and sent his ravenous servants charging through it. The new Horde, led by veteran chieftains such as Grom Hellscream and Kilrog Deadeye of the Bleeding Hollow clan, surprised the Alliance defense forces and rampaged through the countryside. Under Ner'zhul's surgical command, the Orcs quickly rounded up the artifacts that they needed and fled back to the safety of Draenor. King Terenas of Lordaeron, convinced that the Orcs were preparing a new invasion of Azeroth, assembled his most trusted lieutenants. He ordered General Turalyon and the Archmage Khadgar to lead an expedition through the Dark Portal to put an end to the Orcish threat once and for all. Turalyon and Khadgar's forces marched into Draenor and repeatedly clashed with Ner'zhul's clans upon the ravaged Hellfire Peninsula. Even with the aid of the High Elf Ilaria Windrunner, the dwarf Kurdran Wildhammer, and the veteran soldier Danath Trollbane, Khadgar was unable to prevent Ner'zhul from opening his portals to other worlds. Ner'zhul finally opened his portals to other worlds, but he did not foresee the terrible price he would pay. The portal's tremendous energies began to tear the very fabric of Draenor apart. As Turalyon's forces fought desperately to return home to Azeroth, the world of Draenor began to buckle in upon itself. Grom Hellscream and Kilrog Deadeye, realizing that Ner'zhul's mad plans would doom their entire race, rallied the remaining Orcs and escaped back to the relative safety of Azeroth. On Draenor, Turalyon and Khadgar agreed to make the ultimate sacrifice by destroying the Dark Portal from their side. Though it would cost their lives, and the lives of their companions, they knew that it was the only way to ensure Azeroth's survival. Even as Hellscream and Deadeye hacked their way through the human ranks in a desperate bid for freedom, the Dark Portal exploded behind them. For them, and the remaining Orcs on Azeroth, there would be no going back. Ner'zhul and his loyal Shadowmoon clan passed through the largest of the newly created portals, as massive volcanic eruptions began to break Draenor's continents apart. The burning seas rose up and roiled the shattered landscape as the tortured world was finally consumed in a massive, apocalyptic explosion.
think you had a dramatic day? Zappo here with a tale that'll have you thanking the spirits you weren't in my shoes, or rather, my opera glasses. So, I headed into Dire Mall thinking it was a theater. Oh boy, big mistake. Had a group of ogres chasing me for a private performance. Note to self, ogres have no appreciation for goblin opera.
you hate falling off of a zeppelin? Does your innkeeper not let you set your hearthstone? Or your well-earned loot will just not let itself be taken from the boss? The solution to all of these questions and more lie in our newly overhauled bug tracking site. Similar to how you know it from the past, but with easier access, better overview, and a filter option to search for topics that interest you most. Now you can simply click on a tab on the TurtleWow homepage, so even the not-so-tech-savvy can help make TurtleWow a bug-free place. A simple report can do a lot of change.
with you.
How are you?
Hey there, Azerothians, it's your pal Zappo, totally hyped up for today's lore book reading. We got tales so epic, even a dragon would drop its treasure to listen. So pull up a seat and get ready to jump into amazing legends and mind-blowing mysteries of our world.
The first Greymane. From the 7 nations that were originally part of the Empire of Erethdor, Gilneas stands out as the one that had to fight the hardest for its independence. While Lordaeron was able to secure its freedom through the influence of its nobles, the people of Gilneas had to make great sacrifices to gain their liberty. Although the exact dates of these events have been lost to the sands of time, it is a source of great pride for Gilneas to know that it gained its freedom before other notable nations like Alterac or Kul Tiras. The people of Gilneas were among the first to break free from the yoke of Erethdorian nobility and enjoy the full benefits of self-rule. According to legend, the Greymane dynasty that ruled Gilneas was founded by Garelon, a minor noble who owned an insignificant plot of land in the southern part of the country. Over time, Garelon's influence grew and he became known as a skilled fighter, a wise judge, and an honorable opponent. His exploits became legend even in his own time. However, he grew increasingly resentful of the corrupt Erethdorian nobles who sought to exploit and oppress his homeland. Eventually, Garelon gathered other like-minded lords from Gilneas to form a rebellion against the decadent Erethdorian king, Thoradin III, and his followers. Many lords were hesitant to join the rebellion, but Garelon was able to persuade them and eventually declared himself the King of Gilneas. This was an affront that could not be tolerated by Erethdor, which sent its legions to pacify Gilneas. Numerous battles were fought on the peninsula, but despite the bravery and courage of Gilneas' men, the odds seemed stacked against them. Erethdor had a numerical advantage and was able to overwhelm the Gilnean armies. The Battle of Ravenswood was lost, and the Gilnean soldiers were scattered, seemingly without hope. But the young Gilnean king was not deterred. He rebuilt his strength and rallied the morale of his men. The final battle was fought on the hills of Stillward. Greymane assumed a defensive position on the hilltop, with cavalry hiding in the nearby forest. The Erethdorian forces were over 4 times larger and better equipped, and they rushed Garelon's positions without considering their own men. The Gilnean forces fought valiantly, killing thousands of Erethdorians, but it was not enough. The enemy flowed onto the hills and threatened to surround Greymane's army. Thankfully, the cavalry in the woods emerged from hiding to turn the tide of the battle. They galloped out of the forest, charging straight into the Erethdorian lines. Caught off guard, the Erethdorian formations were shattered. Although they attempted to retreat, the Gilneans gave them no quarter and sought revenge for their previous losses. Thousands of Erethdorians were killed, including their king, Thoradin III, who pleaded for mercy but received none. In the end, Gilneas emerged victorious, and the new young king of Erethdor soon came to sue for peace. Gilneas was granted its independence and joined Dalaran as one of the independent human nations. King Garelon proclaimed the emancipation of his Gilnean homeland, giving rise to the glorious Greymane dynasty. As the nascent kingdom of Gilneas began to thrive, it faced yet another challenge. The Magocrats of Dalaran, who saw land ripe for exploitation, attacked Gilneas without warning or declaration of war, in a clear display of their treachery. The wizards of Dalaran, believing they could easily win the war with their magical abilities, underestimated the strength of the Gilnean army. The first Battle of Ebonmere was a complete massacre of the Dalaranian soldiers, and their mages hanged on trees from the city of Gilneas to the kingdom's border as a reminder to never again encroach on Gilnean soil. Despite the victory over Dalaran, the young king of Gilneas was not able to rest for long. Various nobles of the land were not always loyal to the king, and some rebelled against his rule. However, King Garelon's power was too great, and he managed to subdue them all with the help of his favored general, Lord Ravenwood.
Hey folks, looking to give your business a little boost? Give Everlook Broadcasting Co. a shout. We got ears everywhere. And speaking of, check out these awesome products our pals are offering.
For those times when a pickaxe or a gun just won't do. Hold fist boxing gloves. When you really want to get your point across in a discussion. Ideal for bar brawls and political debates.
Behold, adventurers clad in mere cloth and leather ascend to the zenith of style with a far-strider feathered cape. Warning, wearing this cape may make you insufferably stylish and subject to envious glares. We are not liable for any ego inflation.
already know the best metal comes from the forges of Ironforge, so stay tuned for more metal.
Of my rejoice. Raise your bigger, raise your voice. Down and down into the deep. Who knows what will find beneath? Diamonds, rubies, gold and more. Hidden in the mountain's floor. Born on the ground, something from a teen of stone. Raised in the dark, the city of our mountain home. Skin made of iron, steel in our bones. To dig and dig makes us free. Come on, brother, sing with me. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Digging, digging hole. Digging, digging hole. I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Digging, digging hole. Digging a hole. The sunlight will not reach this low. Never seen the blue moon glow. First one flies so high, fill a glass and dance on me. Stop your bellies at the feast. Stumble home and fall asleep, dreaming in a mountain deep. Born underground, grown inside a rocky womb. The earth is a cradle, the mountain shall become our tomb. Face us on the battlefield, you will meet your doom. We do not fear who lies beneath, we can never dig too deep. I am a dwarf
Mount Hyjal and Illidan's gift, waters from the Well of Eternity. The few night elves that survived that horrific explosion rallied together on crudely made rafts and slowly made their way to the only landmass in sight. Somehow, by the grace of Elune, Malfurion, Tyrande, and Cenarius had survived the Great Sundering. The weary heroes agreed to lead their fellow survivors and establish a new home for their people. As they journeyed in silence, they surveyed the wreckage of their world and realized that their passions had wrought the destruction all around them. Though Sargeras and his legion had been ripped from the world by the well's destruction, Malfurion and his companions were left to ponder the terrible cost of victory. There were many highborn who did survive the cataclysm unscathed. They made their way to the shores of the new land with the other night elves. Though Malfurion mistrusted the highborn's motivations, he was satisfied that they could cause no real mischief without the well's energies. As the weary mass of night elves landed upon the shores of the new land, they found that the holy mountain, Hyjal, had survived the catastrophe. Seeking to establish a new home for themselves, Malfurion and the night elves climbed the slopes of Hyjal and reached its windswept summit. As they descended into the wooden bowl nestled between the mountain's enormous peaks, they found a small, tranquil lake. To their horror, they found the lake's waters had been fouled by magic. Illidan, having survived the Sundering as well, had reached Hyjal's summit long before Malfurion and the Night Elves. In his mad bid to maintain the flows of magic in the world, Illidan had poured his vials, which contained the precious waters from the Well of Eternity, into the mountain lake. The well's potent energies quickly ignited and coalesced into a new Well of Eternity. The exultant Illidan, believing that the new well was a gift to future generations, was shocked when Malfurion hunted him down. Malfurion explained to his brother that magic was innately chaotic, and that its use would inevitably lead to widespread corruption and strife. Still, Illidan refused to relinquish his magical powers. Knowing full well where Illidan's ruthless schemes would eventually lead, Malfurion decided to deal with his power-crazed brother once and for all. With Cenarius' help, Malfurion sealed Illidan within a vast underground barrow prison where he would remain chained and powerless until the end of time. To ensure his brother's containment, Malfurion empowered the young warden, Maiev Shadowsong, to be Illidan's personal jailer. Concerned that destroying the new well might bring about an even greater catastrophe, the Night Elves resolved to leave it be. However, Malfurion declared that they would never practice the arts of magic again. Under Cenarius' watchful eye, they began to study the ancient arts of druidism that would enable them to heal the ravaged earth and regrow their beloved forest at the base of Mount Hyjal.
Hey folks, looking to give your business a little boost? Give Everlook Broadcasting Co. a shout. We got ears everywhere. And speaking of, check out these awesome products our pals are offering.
Queldore Elegance, where we craft attire for those who appreciate true beauty. Our designs embody the timeless elegance of high elves because, let's face it, we set the standard. Join us and bask in the splendor that only the highborn can truly appreciate.
Greetings, denizens of the shadows. Unearth your style with Undercity Crypt Culture, where fashion is to die for, almost quite literally. From bone-chilling formal wear to decayed casual attire, we've got your fashion needs covered. Elegance never looked so undead. And remember, our garments come with a hint of the plague, ensuring you'll be the death of the fashion scene.
For the bravest among the Horde, there is only one place to prove your mettle. The Victory or Death Brawl Arena. Roar like a true orc as you face ferocious foes. Victory or death. You'll earn the respect of your peers and bring honor to the Horde.